Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something. That there's one thing life has taught me, is this. When you start focusing on yourself, everything else just starts to fall into place. We live in a world where everybody's busy watching everybody else. Folks scrolling through social media, comparing lives, counting likes, and chasing approval. But here's the truth. None of that is going to make your life better. The moment you stop worrying about what everybody else is doing and start putting that same energy into your own growth, that's the moment your life starts to change. Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something from the heart. Self-focus is not selfish. It's the foundation of success. Too many people in this world believe that if you put yourself first, you're being arrogant or uncaring. But that's the wrong way to look at it. When you take care of yourself, when you build yourself, when you strengthen your mind, body, and spirit, you're not just doing it for you. You're doing it for everyone connected to you. You can't pour from an empty cup. You can't lift others up if you're too weak to stand on your own. Self-focus is not about ignoring the world. It's about preparing yourself to face it with power, purpose, and peace. I've learned through life that people will always demand your time, your attention, and your energy. But if you keep giving all of that away without ever recharging, you'll find yourself drained and frustrated. You'll be running on fumes, wondering why life feels heavy. The truth is, when you focus on yourself, when you learn to say no to distractions and yes to discipline, you start building a version of yourself that's unstoppable. You stop depending on the world for directions because you become your own compass. That's where real strength begins. Now, focus on yourself doesn't mean you stop caring about people. It means you start caring about yourself enough to stop settling for less. It means you stop letting people walk all over you. It means you stop putting your dreams on hold for people who wouldn't do the same for you. When you put your own growth first, you become more capable of helping others from a place of strength, not weakness. You can't fix anyone else's life if yours is falling apart. You can't inspire anyone to chase their purpose if you've forgotten yours. That's why you've got to take that time, that energy, and turn it inward. Every morning when you wake up, ask yourself, what am I doing today to make me better than yesterday? Not to please people, not to impress anyone, but to evolve. Success begins with small acts of self-focus, reading instead of scrolling, learning instead of complaining, praying instead of panicking. These small moments create big shifts in your life. You don't need to change everything overnight. You just need to consistently choose yourself every day. Every time you decide to keep going despite doubt, every time you choose peace over drama, every time you choose progress over procrastination, you laying another brick on the path to your success. And let me tell you something else. When you focus on yourself, the right people will understand and the wrong people will fall away. Don't feel guilty for that. Growth requires letting go. You can't take everyone with you, and you shouldn't try to. The people meant to stay will respect your boundaries. The ones who don't were never really for you. That's one of the hardest lessons you'll learn when you start focusing on yourself. You'll lose some people, but you'll gain peace, clarity, and power in return. Self-focus teaches you patience. It teaches you gratitude. It teaches you how to trust your journey even when things don't make sense. Because when you focus inward, you stop chasing the world's approval and start listening to your own voice. You start realizing that everything you need to win has been inside you all along. That voice that says, keep going. That spark that refuses to die even when things get hard. That's your power. Ladies and gentlemen, I've lived long enough to see that the people who make it in life aren't the ones who chase others. They're the ones who chase their own growth. You can't control what happens around you, but you can control what happens within you. That's where your success starts, inside your focus, your discipline, and your belief in yourself. When you master that, everything else will fall into place. Ladies and gentlemen, growth begins the moment you stop seeking validation from others. That's the truth right there. So many people spend their entire lives chasing approval, wanting to be liked, wanting to be accepted, wanting someone else to tell them they're doing okay. But here's the thing, when your self-worth depends on other people's opinions, you'll never be free. You'll be stuck in a cycle of trying to please everyone. And no matter how hard you try, it'll never be enough. The moment you let go of that need for validation, you unlock a different level of peace. That's when growth truly starts to happen. We live in a world that constantly tries to tell us who we should be. Social media shows you what success looks like, what beauty looks like, what happiness looks like. But all of it is filtered, edited, and often fake. You start comparing your behind the scenes to someone else's highlight reel, and you forget that your journey is unique. When you stop seeking validation, you stop measuring your worth by other people's standards. You begin to build confidence from within. You start to trust your own voice, your own path, and your own timing. That's the kind of strength nobody can take away from you. The truth is, validation feels good. We all want to be appreciated, noticed, and respected. But if you make it your main goal, you'll always be chasing instead of creating. You'll waste time trying to fit into spaces where you don't belong. You'll try to please people who were never rooting for you in the first place. And every time they withhold that approval, you'll start doubting yourself. That's not living, that's performing. Real living begins when you stop performing for the world and start being authentic. You have to understand the people who truly matter don't need you to prove anything to them. They see your value without you shouting it from the rooftops. The only person you should ever aim to impress is the one you were yesterday. Growth happens when you start doing things because they feel right for you, not because you want applause. You don't need anyone to clap for you when you walk in your purpose. You just need to keep walking. When you stop seeking validation, you also stop taking rejection so personally. Because you understand that not everyone is meant to understand your vision. Some people will doubt you, some will criticize you, and some will walk away, and that's okay. You stop trying to convince them of your worth because you already know it. That's the kind of power that makes you unshakable. You stop reacting to every opinion and you start protecting your energy. You start saying, I don't need your approval, I have my own. That's when the real transformation happens. Ladies and gentlemen, I've learned that people's opinions of you will change like the weather. One day they love you, the next day they don't. But your purpose, your calling stays the same. Don't build your identity on something that changes every day. Build it on your values, your character, and your belief in yourself. Validation is temporary, but self-belief is permanent. You can't grow if you keep looking outside yourself for confirmation. You have to go inward. You have to trust that what you're doing, what you're building, and who you're becoming is exactly what's meant to happen. Growth starts when you can look in the mirror and say, I'm proud of myself, without needing anyone else to say it for you. It's when you can make choices that align with your peace, even if nobody understands them. It's when you can walk away from situations that no longer serve you and not feel guilty for it. Because you know your worth, you know your purpose, you know your path. And once you get to that point, once you truly stop needing validation, you start growing in ways you never imagined. You stop surviving and start living. You stop begging for acceptance and start owning your greatness. That's when your life begins to shift, because growth always begins where validation ends. Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something powerful. Your energy flows where your attention goes. Whatever you focus on expands. If you spend your days thinking about what's missing, you'll always feel empty. If you keep focusing on what went wrong, you'll keep reliving your pain. But when you focus on what's right, on what's possible, on what you can do instead of what you can't, that's when your entire life starts to change. Energy is like water. It nourishes whatever it's poured into. So the question you need to ask yourself is, what are you watering every day? Are you feeding your fears or are you feeding your faith? See, we live in a noisy world and it's easy to get distracted. You got people telling you what you should be doing, what you're missing out on, and what you're not enough of. Every headline, every post, every conversation seems to pull your focus somewhere else. But here's the truth. Your mind is your steering wheel, and your focus is the direction. If you let negativity drive, you'll always end up somewhere you don't belong. You have to take control of your attention. You have to decide what deserves your energy and what doesn't. Because not everything and not everyone deserves a place in your head. When you start directing your energy toward your goals, your peace, and your growth, you begin to see results. You become more intentional. You stop wasting time on things that don't align with your purpose. You stop entertaining drama. Stop arguing with people who don't matter. Stop worrying about opinions that don't pay your bills or build your future. You start realizing that your attention is your greatest currency and you can't spend it everywhere. You've got to invest it where it multiplies into yourself, into your vision, and into your destiny. Let me tell you, whatever you keep focusing on will shape your reality. If you constantly think about your problems, you'll keep seeing more of them. But if you shift your focus towards solutions, suddenly opportunities start showing up. That's not magic. That's energy alignment. You attract what you think about most. That's why gratitude is so powerful. When you focus on what you already have, you draw more blessings. When you focus on becoming better instead of being bitter, you start feeling lighter. When you focus on what you can control, life becomes simpler. But here's the challenge. Your attention will always be tested. There will always be distractions, disappointments, and delays trying to steal your focus. You'll have moments where it feels easier to complain than to create. You'll have days when it feels like giving up is the only option. But in those moments, remind yourself, energy flows where attention goes. Keep your eyes on the vision, not the obstacle. Keep your heart on the purpose, not the pain. The more you focus on the goal, the smaller the problems seem. Every successful person you've ever admired mastered one thing. They learned how to focus their energy. They didn't spread themselves thin. They didn't try to please everyone. They chose a direction and poured their heart into it. They blocked out noise, ignored doubt, and kept their eyes fixed on what mattered most. That's how you move mountains, one focused step at a time. Ladies and gentlemen, every minute you spend worrying about what could go wrong is a minute you could have spent making something go right. Every second you give to negativity is energy taken away from your destiny. You are the director of your focus, and your focus determines your future. So choose wisely where you place it. Pour your energy into growth, into peace, into purpose. Because once you start focusing your attention on what truly matters, your energy starts to work for you, not against you. And when that happens, everything in your life begins to shift toward success, clarity, and fulfillment. Ladies and gentlemen, comparing yourself to others will only distract you from your own blessings. We live in a world where comparison has become second nature. Everywhere you look, somebody's showing you what they've got, what they've achieved, or how happy they look. You see their cars, their houses, their vacations, and you start wondering, why not me? But what you don't see are the struggles behind those smiles, the sacrifices behind those successes, and the pain behind those pictures. You can't compare your chapter 1 to somebody else's chapter 20. Everyone's journey is different, and the moment you stop comparing yourself to others, you will finally start appreciating your own path. The truth is, comparison steals your joy. It takes your focus away from what you have and makes you believe you're behind. But the only person you're ever in competition with is yourself. You don't have to outdo anybody. You just have to keep becoming a better version of who you were yesterday. When you compare, you distract yourself from your blessings. You start doubting your worth, second-guessing your timing, and resenting your own progress. And all of that energy you spend wishing for somebody else's life could have been used to build your own. You'll never win trying to live someone else's dream. Let me tell you something I've learned through experience. Every person's journey is tailored for their growth. Some people get there fast. Others take longer, but that doesn't mean they're losing. Sometimes God delays your blessing because he's preparing your strength, your patience, and your character. You don't see what he's protecting you from or what he's saving you for. So when you see somebody else winning, don't let jealousy speak, let gratitude speak. Their win doesn't mean your loss. Their time doesn't cancel out yours. Celebrate them, but stay focused on your lane, because your moment is coming too. When you keep comparing, you miss what's beautiful about your own story. You start ignoring the small victories because you think they don't matter, but every little win counts. Every small step forward is progress. You might not be where you want to be yet, but you're not where you used to be, and that's something to be proud of. Success is not about speed, it's about direction. You can move fast in the wrong direction and still end up lost. But when you walk with purpose, even slow progress leads you to the right destination. Comparison also creates insecurity. You start believing that someone else's light dims yours. But here's the truth. There's enough light for everyone. The sun doesn't lose its shine because the moon is bright. You have your own lane, your own gifts, and your own timing. And once you understand that, you'll stop competing and start growing. The world doesn't need another copy. It needs your authenticity. It needs your story, your voice, your purpose. Ladies and gentlemen, peace comes when you stop measuring your worth through someone else's lens. You don't need to have what they have to be fulfilled. You don't need to look like them, live like them, or move like them. You just need to keep showing up for yourself. Your journey might look different, but it's designed for you. And once you embrace that, life starts to feel lighter. You stop forcing things. You stop rushing your process. You start trusting that what's meant for you will always find you. The next time you catch yourself comparing, take a step back and remind yourself of how far you've come. Remember what you've overcome, what you've built, and how much you've grown. Focus on your lane and give your best to it. Because when you're too busy watering your own grass, you don't have time to notice who else's is greener. Keep your eyes on your journey, keep your heart grounded in gratitude, and watch how the blessings begin to unfold. One step, one lesson, one victory at a time. Ladies and gentlemen, the more you work on yourself, the more the world aligns with you. That's a truth I've seen play out time and time again. You see, people want their circumstances to change, but they don't want to change themselves. They want the world to treat them differently, but they don't want to shift their mindset or their habits. The secret is simple. When you change from the inside, everything around you starts to change too. The doors that were once closed begin to open. The people who didn't see your value start noticing it, and the opportunities that once seemed impossible begin to find their way to you. The world mirrors who you are becoming, not who you used to be. Growth is magnetic. When you start putting in the work mentally, spiritually, emotionally, and physically, you start vibrating differently. You start attracting better situations, better energy, better relationships. But it all begins with you. You can't wait for life to line up perfectly before you start improving yourself. You've got to start now. You've got to be willing to invest in your development even when no one's watching. Because self-work is not about impressing the world. It's about transforming for yourself. The stronger you become internally, the more peace and clarity you'll find externally. Most people spend their time trying to fix everything outside of them. They complain about people, about circumstances, about the economy, but they never stop to look within. You can't control the world, but you can control how you show up in it. You can control your mindset, your attitude, and your effort. When you do that, the world starts meeting you at the level of your growth. It's almost like a reflection. What you send out is what you receive. If you operate from a place of doubt, fear, or laziness, that's exactly what life will mirror back. But if you move with confidence, consistency, and faith, the universe begins to align in your favor. Working on yourself means facing uncomfortable truths. It means admitting that sometimes you are your own obstacle. It means breaking bad habits, setting boundaries, and holding yourself accountable. It's not easy work, but it's the most rewarding work you'll ever do. Because when you start improving your mindset, everything else starts improving with it. You stop chasing validation. You stop stressing over what you can't control. You stop allowing negativity to take up space in your spirit. You begin to move differently, wiser, calmer, stronger. And here's the beauty of it. When you start becoming the best version of yourself, you naturally start aligning with people and opportunities that match that version. You stop forcing connections and start attracting what fits. You don't have to beg, chase, or compromise anymore because what's meant for the version of you that's growing will come naturally. Life starts to flow instead of fight you. You start seeing that the world was never against you. It was just waiting for you to rise to the level you were created to live at. Ladies and gentlemen, there's something powerful about quiet growth. You don't have to announce it. You don't have to prove it. You just keep working on you, reading, praying, healing, learning, and believing. And before you know it, everything around you starts to shift. The energy you once wasted on complaining turns into focus. The time you once gave to distractions turns into discipline. You begin to see the alignment happen in real time. You'll realize that you don't have to control the outcome. You just have to become the person capable of handling it. So if you want a better life, start with a better you. The more you work on your heart, your habits, your hustle, the more everything around you falls into place. The world responds to who you are becoming. Keep growing, keep believing, and keep working on yourself, and watch how everything begins to align exactly the way it's meant to. Ladies and gentlemen, when you focus inward, everything outward starts to make sense. We spend so much of our lives searching for answers outside ourselves, asking people what we should do, waiting for life to show us a sign, hoping the world will hand us direction. But the truth is, the clarity we're looking for has always been inside us. The problem is we're too distracted to hear it. We drown out our own voice with noise, opinions, and fear. But when you quiet the world around you and turn your focus inward, that's when you begin to understand who you really are, what you really want, and where you truly belong. Every storm you face in life is not meant to destroy you. It's meant to guide you back to yourself. When you focus inward, you start realizing that peace doesn't come from people or possessions. It comes from perspective. You start seeing that the things you were chasing on the outside were never the solution. They were distractions. You can have all the success, money, and validation in the world, but if you don't have peace within yourself, you will still feel empty. But when you build peace on the inside, no storm on the outside can shake you. That's what true strength looks like. Focusing inward doesn't mean ignoring the world. It means grounding yourself before facing it. It's learning to understand your emotions instead of running from them. It's taking time to heal instead of pretending you're fine. It's forgiving yourself for the mistakes you made and allowing yourself to grow from them. Too many people try to move forward without reflection, but growth doesn't come from rushing ahead. It comes from looking within. When you understand your triggers, your fears, and your patterns, you begin to master them. That's how you evolve from chaos to clarity. When you start focusing inward, you also start seeing life differently. You begin to realize that not every situation deserves a reaction. Not every opinion deserves your response. You learn to pick your battles, protect your energy, and walk away from anything that disturbs your peace. You stop trying to control everything and start trusting that everything is happening for a reason. You stop asking, why me? And start asking, what is this trying to teach me? That's the shift that changes your entire perspective. When your inner world becomes calm, your outer world starts to reflect that calm. You see, life is a mirror. Whatever's unsettled within you will show up around you. That's why focusing inward is the key to balance. You can't expect the world to give you peace if your heart is full of conflict. You can't expect relationships to heal you if you haven't learned to love yourself. You can't expect opportunities to find you if you keep doubting your own worth. But when you start building from the inside, when you nurture your confidence, your discipline, and your faith, the world begins to align with that energy. Things start falling into place, not because the world changed, but because you did. Ladies and gentlemen, the greatest journey you will ever take is the one within yourself. When you take the time to understand who you are and what you stand for, life stops feeling like a constant struggle. You become grounded, centered, and confident in your path. You stop chasing what's not meant for you and start attracting what is. The people who are aligned with your peace will stay. The ones who aren't will fade away. And instead of forcing things, you start allowing life to unfold naturally. So when life gets confusing, don't rush to fix the outside world. Take a moment, breathe, and turn your focus inward. Ask yourself what you need, what you feel, and what truly matters. That inner focus will guide you more clearly than any advice or validation ever could. Because once you make peace with yourself, everything around you starts making sense. The world becomes calmer, opportunities feel closer, and life begins to flow the way it's supposed to. All because you finally found direction within.